Okay, so have you ever thought about uh, what if work wasn't, something you had to do,
Mm-hmm.
but like a choice?
Like,
Like not winning the lottery or something,
right.
but actually having that financial freedom to choose
Yeah, yeah.
to spend your time how you wanted?
It's a dream.
It is a dream, and it's
A
something
lot of people are talking about these days.
totally. And since I'm, kind of a formula person,
I know you love those.
this article from Financial Samurai really caught my eye. Have you heard of it?
I have, yeah. Yeah.
Called The Minimum Investment Amount Where Work Becomes Optional.
Oh, that's a catchy title.
And the author, he's a former investment banker.
Interesting background.
So he actually walked the walk. He retired early.
Yeah. That always gives you more credibility, I think.
Totally. And he lays out a way to calculate this, magic number,
Okay.
where work becomes a choice, not a necessity.
I am intrigued. There's like a formula for this.
There is. It's called the
Oh, wow.
Minimum Investment Threshold Formula. It's pretty simple, actually. You take your gross annual income
Okay.
and you divide it by the historical return of whatever asset class you've
Right.
chosen.
Okay. Makes sense.
And that number that you get represents the total investment you
Yeah.
need so that those returns could equal your current salary.
So it's giving you like a concrete target to aim for.
Totally. It's a great starting point, but
I'm going to guess there are probably some assumptions baked into this formula.
oh, for sure. You can't just plug in a couple numbers and quit your job tomorrow.
Right, of course. Of course.
There's some, baseline stuff you got to have going on.
Yeah.
So the formula assumes that you're already living within your means.
Yeah,
No
right.
credit card debt, saving at least 20% of your income.
So it's not about like deprivation or anything.
Yeah, no.
Just having a good foundation.
Exactly. Like having a good, solid foundation to build upon.
I like it.
So to illustrate this, let's walk through some of the examples
Okay, sounds good.
that the article gives. The first one is someone with a higher risk tolerance.
Okay.
So let's say you are earning $100,000 a year and you're comfortable putting 100% of your investments into stocks.
Okay.
Historically, the S&P 500 has returned around 10% annually.
So if we're plugging those numbers in,
Yeah.
their minimum investment threshold would be $1 million.
Exactly.
Mm.
Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they have to fully retire
Right.
once they hit that $1 million mark.
It's about, I guess, having that work optional idea.
Exactly.
Someone with this kind of risk tolerance
Yeah,
might use this to switch to a lower paying job
totally.
that they find more fulfilling,
Yeah.
knowing they've got this buffer.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about it. It gives you options.
Yeah, options, flexibility.
Let's look at a different example.
Okay.
Someone who's more retirement focused. Let's say it's a 45-year-old earning $300,000 a year.
Okay.
They want a more balanced, 60-40.
Stocks and bonds.
Exactly.
Classic.
Which historically yields about 8% return.
So their threshold in this case is going to be much higher.
It is. It would be $3.75 million.
Okay, significant jump.
But with a different goal in mind.
Of course. Yeah.
And what's so interesting about this is how concrete that number becomes.
Yeah.
Like if this person is saving, let's say, $100,000 a year,
Okay.
they have a pretty clear time frame.
Yeah.
Something like 5 to 7 years
Yeah.
before they could potentially hit that number and consider retiring.
It makes it less abstract.
Exactly. It goes from this far-off dream
Yeah.
to a real plan.
Yeah, I like it.
The third example the author uses is real estate.
Oh.
So someone earning $200,000 a year
Okay.
wants to build their work optional threshold through real estate investing.
Okay, so only real estate.
Yeah, if we assume a 4% average annual return,
Their minimum threshold's going to be pretty high.
it jumps up to $5 million.
Whoa, that's a big number.
It is a big number.
Real estate, though, there's so many nuances to it.
Oh, for sure.
You've got the, tangibility of owning a property.
Right.
The leverage, to amplify your returns.
Yeah.
But it can be a lot of work.
It is. It can be more hands-on.
Not as passive, yeah.
So the author does mention Fundrise as an option if you want more passive real estate exposure.
Interesting, yeah.
Now, before we all run off and calculate our own magic numbers,
Right.
there's a really crucial thing to remember.
What's that?
This is a minimum threshold.
Okay.
Not necessarily enough to, retire forever
Okay.
and live off of indefinitely.
Yeah.
The author emphasizes that, investments fluctuate.
Yeah.
There's about a 30% chance they could decline in a year.
Oh, wow.
In fact, he even suggests building in a downside buffer.
A downside buffer, what is that?
So instead of just aiming for your calculated minimum,
Yep.
he recommends shooting for 142% of that number.
Okay.
So it creates this cushion.
Like a safety net
Totally.
in case things go south.
Exactly, to absorb those potential market dips.
Smart.
So it seems like this whole thing isn't just about the money itself.
Right.
It's about the security and freedom it provides.
Exactly. It's about options.
Yeah, like it could give someone the courage to leave a job
Right.
that's making them miserable.
Totally. Or a relationship even.
Or a relationship, yeah.
Or just the freedom to pursue their dreams.
The author actually shares a story
Really?
about leaving his high-pressure finance job and the impact it had on his health.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear more about that.
We'll definitely dive into that.
Okay, great.
But this idea of the minimum threshold
Yeah.
to make work optional connects to this bigger concept of financial independence, or FI.
Yeah, FI, that's a big one.
And the author takes an interesting stance on this.
Okay, how so?
He advocates for a net worth target
Okay.
of 20 times your gross annual income for full FI.
Instead of using expenses,
Yeah.
which is more typical.
Right. It's a different approach.
Why do you think he uses income as the basis for his FI target?
He argues that while you can adjust spending habits,
Yeah.
manipulate your expenses to a certain degree,
All right.
your income is more stable.
Yeah, I see.
So by focusing on a multiple of your income, it forces you to save and invest.
More proactively
Yeah, it's more proactive.
about wealth.
And he also talks about how these plans
Right.
need to be dynamic, not set in stone.
Yeah. Life rarely goes according to plan.
Exactly. And he shares how his own FI plans had to adapt after he started a family and experienced, inflation and rising costs of living.
Yeah, kids are expensive.
They are. So he and his wife had to make adjustments,
Right.
like reinvesting more of their investment income instead of using it for immediate expenses.
Right.
And even exploring additional income streams.
Like side hustles and things?
Exactly. Things like writing, coaching, part-time consulting.
I like that. Keeping it flexible.
It shows that achieving financial independence.
It's a journey, not just a destination.
Totally. And it requires adjustments.
And being creative.
Yeah, finding those solutions.
This has been so insightful, wouldn't you say?
I'm really enjoying this conversation.
We've covered the formula,
Mm-hmm.
explored some real-world examples,
Yeah.
even touched on the importance of flexibility
Right.
and purpose in our financial journeys.
Definitely.
It's about creating a life
Yeah.
where you have the freedom
Mm-hmm.
to choose how you spend your time
I love that.
and your energy.
It's empowering.
I'm curious to hear more about the author's personal experience.
Me too.
Like, how did he actually make that leap?
From such a demanding field.
Especially from a field like finance.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And what were the challenges he faced? What did he learn along the way?
That's a great question.
We're going to get into that. Really.
We are.
Okay, I'm excited.
But first, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back. So before the break, we were talking about the author's personal experience.
Yeah, leaving that finance job.
Right. And I think there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I'm curious, how did he actually make that leap?
Right. Especially from such a,
Demanding, well-compensated field?
Exactly. So it sounds like it wasn't like a spur of the moment thing.
Okay.
It seems like he was deeply unhappy in his job to the point where it was actually affecting his health.
Oh, wow.
He mentions like chronic back pain, sciatica, even TMJ.
It's like his body was telling him something.
Yeah, like screaming for a change.
That's a really powerful example of how an unfulfilling job can impact you.
Totally.
We focus on the financial rewards,
Right.
but the impact on well-being is so important.
And he actually describes it as feeling like his job was slowly killing him.
Oh, wow.
And he negotiated a severance package.
Okay.
Left 6 months later. And then, the most remarkable thing happened.
What's that?
He claims that all of his chronic pain vanished. Yeah. And even the white hairs he'd been noticing
I got to get his secret.
started to disappear.
That's incredible. It really speaks to that mind-body connection,
It does.
how stress can manifest physically.
Yeah, leaving that job was true self-care.
It makes you wonder how many people are out there
Right.
stuck in jobs they hate,
Holy.
not realizing the impact it's having.
Yeah.
So what did he do after he left finance?
So he didn't jump straight into full retirement.
Okay.
He opted for more of a semi-retirement approach.
Right.
He did some part-time consulting for startups.
Staying engaged.
Yeah. but on his own terms.
Right.
And then he wrote a couple of best-selling books.
Which seems to be working out well for him.
I think it's going pretty well, so.
So he found a way to stay productive,
Yeah.
but without that pressure
Exactly.
from his old job.
And this brings us back to financial independence,
Yeah.
which he defines as having a net worth of 20 times your gross annual income.
I'm still thinking about that.
I know, it's interesting.
Using income rather than expenses.
It's counterintuitive,
It is.
but his reasoning is pretty compelling.
Yeah. Remind me what it was again.
So he says that while you can adjust your spending habits,
Okay.
manipulate your expenses
You have a point.
to a certain extent, yeah,
Yeah.
your income is more fixed.
It is. It is.
So by aiming for a multiple of your income,
Mm-hmm.
it forces you to save and invest a big chunk of your earnings.
So it's more about building wealth,
Exactly. It's more proactive.
not just cutting back.
And it ties into another important point he makes.
Okay.
The need for flexibility in your financial planning.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Life rarely goes according to plan, right?
Never.
He shares how his own FI goals had to evolve
Okay.
after he and his wife started a family.
Yeah, kids change everything.
They do. So they had to reevaluate their spending,
Okay.
reinvest more of their investment income
Interesting.
instead of using it for, immediate needs.
Makes sense.
And even get creative with generating additional income.
Oh, so like side hustles.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Things like writing, coaching, part-time consulting.
That's cool. I like how he was able to adapt.
It shows that achieving financial independence, it's a process.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. It requires adjustments and being creative.
And being open to new possibilities, yeah.
I appreciate how candid he is about this.
Yeah,
It makes it feel more relatable,
totally. Like he's figuring it out as he goes.
Yeah, he's not presenting himself as this financial guru with all the answers.
Right. He's just a regular person.
Right. He combines that practical side of financial planning
Yeah.
with, the human element of it.
Emotional side.
Yeah, he's not just telling people how to reach a number.
Right.
He's encouraging them to think about what they want out of life
I like that.
and how financial security can help them achieve those goals.
It's a more holistic approach.
And that brings us back to Ikigai.
Oh, yes. That concept.
Finding your reason for being.
It's about finding that thing that brings you joy.
Yeah, and aligning your time and energy with it.
So important.
The author seems to have found his Ikigai in writing.
Yeah. And sharing his knowledge.
Even though he's reached a level of financial freedom
Mm-hmm.
where he could retire, he continues to work.
Because it's meaningful to him?
It brings him satisfaction. And this is a great example
Yeah.
of how financial independence isn't about escaping work altogether.
Right.
It's about having the freedom to choose work that's meaningful.
I love that. It becomes less about the paycheck,
Exactly.
more about the contribution.
This whole conversation has me thinking about my own definition
Oh, yeah.
of work optional.
Mm,
It's not just about hitting a net worth target,
right.
but creating a life where I have that autonomy and flexibility.
Yeah, to choose how you spend your time.
I think that's a key takeaway for anyone listening.
I agree, the formula and the strategies are important tools,
Yeah.
but they're in service of a bigger goal.
This has been such an illuminating deep dive.
It has been really thought-provoking.
We've explored the practical steps,
Mm-hmm.
examined the author's personal journey,
Yeah.
and even delved into the philosophy behind work optional
It's more than just money.
and the importance of finding your Ikigai.
I'm feeling inspired.
Me too. And as we wrap up this exploration, I'm wondering, the most crucial question.
Okay, what's that?
If you could truly make work optional,
Hmm.
what would you spend your time doing?
Wow. That's a big question.
It's been quite a journey today, exploring this idea of work being optional
It really have.
and the path to, financial independence.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired.
I am too. It's one of those conversations that
Yeah.
really makes you think about what matters.
Your priorities, right.
Exactly.
And I think that's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's not about hitting some random financial target.
It's not just about the numbers.
It's about creating a life that feels authentic to you.
Aligning with your values.
Exactly.
So what are some key takeaways?
Yeah, what can our listeners actually do?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is financial freedom is attainable.
Even if it seems like a distant dream.
Exactly. It might take time, effort, planning,
Mm-hmm.
but it is possible.
It's not about winning the lottery
Right.
or getting an inheritance.
It's about making choices,
Yeah.
developing good habits.
And that formula we talked about,
Oh, yeah.
the minimum investment threshold formula.
It's a good starting point.
It is. It gives you a number, right?
A concrete.
Concrete goal.
makes it less overwhelming.
It demystifies this whole idea.
I like that.
But it's not just about hitting that number.
Right. It's about what it represents.
What does that number allow you to do?
That freedom.
Yeah, the freedom to choose.
How you spend your time, your energy.
And not being tied to a job you hate.
Exactly. Just to survive.
And that's where work optional comes in.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about never working again.
It's about having the security to make choices that, you want to make.
Align with your priorities.
Yeah, maybe it's transitioning to part-time so you can spend more time with family.
Or finally starting that business.
Or volunteering more.
Exactly. It's about having the power to choose.
And like we've been saying, reaching that level of freedom,
Yeah.
it's not always easy.
It takes work.
Adjusting your spending, maybe
Yeah.
finding extra income.
Thinking about your career path.
The author's story is a great example of that.
Oh, yeah, he had to make those adjustments.
After starting a family,
Right.
and he found those creative ways to make money.
While pursuing his writing.
It's a process, right?
It is. It's a journey.
And there's a really valuable lesson there.
Okay.
He talks about leaving that high-pressure job
Yeah.
and how it not only gave him financial freedom, but it also impacted his well-being.
His health.
Right. It shows that work really affects everything.
Oh, for sure.
If you're stressed or unhappy in your job.
It can take a toll.
And on the flip side,
When you feel good about your work,
yeah,
have that sense of purpose,
it can energize you.
it can make you healthier.
It's not just about the money.
Right. It's about creating a life that feels good.
Yeah, a holistic approach.
And that brings us back to Ikigai.
That concept of finding your purpose.
What brings you joy? What are you good at?
What does the world need?
Right.
And can you get paid for it?
Finding that sweet spot.
It's a beautiful idea.
And anyone can explore that.
It's not limited to those who are financially independent.
Right. It's a journey of self-discovery.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this.
Okay.
If work was truly optional, what would you do?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. Don't let your current situation limit you.
Dream big.
Explore your passions.
Take steps towards that life where work is a choice.
And remember, it's a journey.
It is.
It's not about perfection.
Progress over perfection.
Celebrate the small wins. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah, and keep learning. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it inspiring.
Until next time.